And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. It is potluck time. This is the part of the show where we go around the table and share our favorite stories of the day. And since we always go right to left, Jonathan Gilliam, you are head chef this evening.
Well, you know, now I'm hungry because you said I'm from the South, and whenever you say potluck, I'm expecting there to be some kind of casserole in front of me.
What's your favorite meal?
Overall, lasagna.
Well,
Lasagna and filet mignon.
I was about to say steak had to be in the top two, easily.
I could eat those every day.
You should have both at the same time.
I have had both.
Fascinating. Anyway, before we go off on a tangent, all you?
So, you know, I have a real issue that's going on. I kind of allude back to this a lot, is that, you know, we really do have a world war going on right now. And to me, it's a two-pronged war. We have a 14-year-old reemergence of fundamental Islam, which I like to call it Mohammedism. It's the same Islam that was practiced before the Sunni and Shia split. Same tactics, same techniques, and same drive and motivation. And that has spread all over the world. Literally, it's the first unconventional world war that has ever existed. Because now, we see unconventional tactics normally only work in one area. Because before modern technologies, you couldn't spread fear all over the world. Now, in an instant, you know, you can cut someone's head off and spread it all over the world.
Social media.
When we talk about Jihadi John, who they've now, you know, told everybody who he is, I look at that as about as significant as each of the individuals that he beheads. That it's a human life, and that's significant, but the overall fight for this war, it doesn't really do anything if we rescue one person or if they get killed. We need to start, you know, battling this entire movement. And so Jihadi John is a thing that they can pump up and say, hey, we're doing this or we're doing that, the politicians, that is, but it really doesn't do anything for the overall picture. The other thing that I did want to say, though, is that this is a two-front war, just like in World War II. The other front is the progressive socialist movement, and it's spread in all over the world into our government systems, and in an effort to take it over, just like communism tried to do, but they're actually successful at doing it. We have them in our administration today. We have one that's our president, and they take advantage.
You're comfortable calling President Obama a socialist?
Anybody that is not willing to look at that is either trying to side with him because they agree with him, or they haven't done their homework and investigate. I'm a trained investigator. I look at the facts. I let the facts, you know, guide my opinions. And I'm like Rick Unger in the way that I look at things and I try to find out what the solutions are to these, a solution-based thinker. When you do investigations, you try to look at what the reality of this situation is. If you look at President Obama, you look at what he ran on, you look at the way that he stands against his country, and listen, I agree 100% with what Giuliani said, with the exception of I don't think that he stuck by his guns enough. I like Giuliani, but I do believe that this president does not like this country, period.
That is a great potluck. Normally we discuss things, but
that was very
definitive.
That was a rant.
You served it up.
And you're bigger than all of us, so I'm not about to argue that. And we do two potlucks in this segment, and you have about 2 minutes for yours.
Right.
You get to follow the Beatles on that one.
And it kind of goes some of the same lines. In Austria, the parliament passed a bill that said that an imam, anyone who heads a mosque, has got to be able to speak German and cannot take foreign funding. And this is something that they started even before what happened in France and what happened in Denmark, but it passed, and France is looking at something similar, Switzerland, and I think Denmark is as well. And it made me wonder whether or not, I know we have the separation of church and state here, obviously, but if you have foreign-funded mosques, does that apply to them? You know, we don't allow foreign corporations to donate to political campaigns. We don't allow foreign people to donate to political campaigns. So there are certain constitutional rights that aren't extended that far. And is that something that we're going to see in our future?
Rob, any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm Jewish, so I'm always concerned about that. There are synagogues in this country where only Hebrew is spoken, so not that they're necessarily foreign funded, but it just comes to me as a right in this country of free speech, whether you're a foreign or domestic.
What do you think it will do to the relationship between the mosques and the law enforcement in the society? Because that's one of the arguments for this Austrian bill, was to say that it will improve those relationships, because now we are trying to make it a sort of a kinder, gentler Islam.
Well, then again, we're getting into government control.
Well, right, and that's why here it would be difficult to pass. But we do limit those types of things in certain circumstances, so there could arguably be a slippery slope there.
I saw a story today as well about the Mississippi cops are now being trained to speak Spanish. It's mandatory that they know how, because of the influx of immigrants that much into that state. So instead of learning, hey, here's how you engage somebody who may be robbing a liquor store, it's you know, now you have to know how to say yo no sé and you know how to speak Spanish in general.
Well, listen, law enforcement needs to start thinking outside the box, and if that's the people who are going to be coming there because this government has allowed them to, then they're going to have to start reacting to that.
And that's our last word in a segment that was dominated by Mr. Gilliam. Thank you. Anyway, we have to take a quick break, but we'll have more political potluck. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV. And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. I am your host, Joe Concha, and if you're just joining us, we're in the middle of our potluck dinner, where we share our favorite stories of the day. Rob, what is your culinary masterpiece?
I read a great piece today by Rich Lowry in the National Review, where he kicks it off by saying, "Let the climate inquisition begin." He is comparing liberal attitude towards climate change to anybody that disagrees with them to a new level of McCarthyism. And I think he's right. I think it's unfair, because you're not allowed to have a dissenting opinion. That's their way of saying we don't love our country. Oh, you disagree that climate change is happening to the degree we say, well, then you don't love America. Mark Twain said, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. I don't see anything being done except a lot of fear-mongering with liberals and climate change. Look, I grew up in New Jersey. We had to drive up and down the turnpike. When I was a kid, my father used to say, hold your breath, because the pollution
around
is so
exit
bad.
13,
It's gotten,
not nice.
It's better. I'm for a good ecology and taking care of our country, but I don't think that it should be used as a political tool, which is what I think Obama's doing.
Well, and it's become about politics in every way, politics and money. You know, we talk about the research, and the people who are doing the research are being paid by the climate companies. It's sort of like big pharma, where some of these doctors are being paid by the pharmaceutical companies. When those things come together, when you've got money and politics and power influencing science, it can never be a good idea.
Well, the contrarian argument is that science has settled the issue that there is climate change or the Earth is warming. I think, to your point, and I completely agree with you, what is the degree as to which it's warming? Is it something that we need to take care of right now? Is there a sense of urgency, or is it something that is manageable? And I think you're exactly right. Whenever you bring up, like, well, it's not that big of a deal. How dare you say that? Because New York, if you read some stories in the 80s, we should all be underwater right now. On Manhattan Island and Miami shouldn't exist. And watch Al Gore's documentary sometime.
The Earth has been in existence for billions of years, and they're saying we're going to destroy it in 100. It's ludicrous if you look at it in those terms.
It's ludicrous if you look at my backyard. I have not seen, I saw grass for the first time today in like a month and a half.
Yeah, I have a sore throat because it's been 21 below zero outside for 2 weeks.
Right, but you can't bring that up because it's cold, but it doesn't count. And the last winter was no picnic either, by the way.
I like the way you say fear-mongering, because you hit the nail on the head here when it comes to liberal politicians and conservative politicians. I know there's people with liberal views and conservative views, but like I've gone on shows before and been accused of fear-mongering because I talk about this war on terror and it's really a global war. But the difference is I have a solution for that. I'm saying this because I want people to be informed. When it comes to climate change, there is no solution based on any of this stuff. Carbon trading, what is that the solution? That's a money-making scheme.
Because the problem is,
put a tax on it.
We could do as much as we like here in the U.S. I think China's going to follow along, and they're the biggest polluters going. Right. So unless you have a worldwide solution, it's all symbolism, as you said. So I'm going to give myself the last word, because you'll learn quickly that I like my airtime on this. And we're only down to 2 minutes and 45 seconds to talk about my potluck. Here's the question panel. Should drones be banned in major cities? All right, they are in Washington, they are in Paris, not in New York. Now, I want to throw this directly to you. Will drones eventually be used as weapons. You attach a bomb to it. I got my little remote control over in Jersey City. I fly over and I go right into the Empire State Building with it. Can that cause a lot of damage? I just think it could totally be a terrorist weapon. We're already droning people, or we're droning terrorists over in the Middle East.
Right.
So who's to say they can't turn that around on us in some urban environment with some remote control from, well, I can't say Radio Shack, it's gone bankrupt, but some sort of remote control.
Well, you just asked the question and answered it yourself
I did?
because, yeah, and that's great. You know, it makes my job easier. So you basically, you said that can drones be used as weapons? And then you say, you know, over in the Middle East, we are actually using drones as weapons.
Right.
I mean,
they're bigger than the...
Yeah, but listen, let me tell you something. There's ones they have now that can carry a 200-pound load on it so that they can deliver packages. So if that's the case, 200 pounds of explosives. When the Times Square bomber attempted to blow up Times Square, but he was an idiot and it fizzled out, thank goodness, that was a 250-pound bomb. Wow. That could have killed, at a particular time that he put that, 6:30 on a Saturday where he put it, he probably could have killed more people than were killed in the Twin Tower attack.
Well,
so this is where we need government regulation. This is the one time I want to see an executive order.
They
They
should
cannot
not.
fly them over any
That's
city.
why it should be banned,
Period.
because there'll be a
Banned.
government commission on drones otherwise, and they'll just wreck
Well,
everything.
the news
Right.
came out today that the Secret Service is now flying drones around Washington
But they're
today.
federal- they're-
But those
But
are
they're
federally
doing it
controlled.
to, I think, to try to counter and find out where the drones are, how they can intercept them. They're talking about using wireless routers to try and scramble the
They
signals.
need to figure it out because they
So
landed one in the White
Well,
House
that's
about
right.
2
I mean,
weeks ago.
clearly, you're right. Whether it's regulation or whether it's investigation to figure out what the heck is going on, because we just don't know enough.
And then not even cities, but then it could be on the campaign trail. And let's say there's a candidate in Iowa somewhere. You fly it out of one field and right into the crowd. And that scares the hell out of me. And to your
They're
point,
a
now
problem.
you've scared me more.
They're
You
a
are a fear monger. And on that note, that's all the time we have for our potluck tonight. But when we come back, it's yay or nay. This is the Daily Wrap, making you sleep very well at night. And it's only here on Newsmax TV from very cold New York City, despite climate change.